Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new week and welcome to a brand new edition of what we like to call the Clash of the Champions, where we talk about the different controversies, storylines, and different news along the way that surrounds this world that we know and love as professional wrestling. I am your host, the vegan you believe in, Conscious Kurt, aka the Professor in the flesh as always, and my co-host needs no introduction, but fuck it, he's gonna give y'all one anyway. Tell him who you are.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is his tag team partner, Jonathan Randall at your guys' service, the adventurer himself, Mr. Life of the Party, ladies and gentlemen. And welcome to this fun soap opera that we love to call professional wrestling and the news. We breaking down the news each and every way as we please. Kurt, how you been?
Good, man. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be talking to you. And also, we have a very special guest today, as he is a fellow wrestling head and also a very close friend of mine, practically family. Known him pretty much most of my life, or pretty much all my life. He is the one, the only DJ 47. What's going on, bro?
What it do, man? I've been waiting for my invite. Now you gonna invite me when I'm crutched on time, but we're gonna see what we got popping up.
All right, so John, how you been, man? I know it's been a crazy couple days in this wrestling world. We're gonna actually do our favorite WrestleMania moments for today's episode, but before we do that, we're gonna get into some of our wrestling news that's been going on these last few days. And John, I wanted to ask you, what did you think of Raw last night? I know it was a fucking very eventful show, very crazy ass hectic show. What were your thoughts on the whole damn thing?
Oh my God! You know what? I've been saying this and I'll say it again. You know, it was a perfect place and a perfect setting to do it at. Look, Chicago will always forever be the best wrestling town of all time. By far, it's only March. By far, that was the best Raw episode I've seen for this year, and it's only March.
Hell motherfucking yeah. And I know that Raw is popping now when I really want to watch Raw live. And I don't wait for it to be recorded. I don't wait to DVR it like later that night or the next day. I know that Raw is popping and Raw is good and the WWE product is good when I want to watch that shit right away.
So much happened. It was just like a full on so much going on that night. You had CM Punk. We knew CM Punk was going to be there. You know, of course, Cody Rhodes was going to be there. Seth Rollins, Drew, all that stuff. But we did not expect The Rock to be there, which we'll get into later, though. But
nah, fuck it. Let's get into it now. Yeah, last night on Raw, Cody Rhodes came out to cut a promo, and he was talking about how he has to pretend to be the champion because the other champion is never there, referring to Roman Reigns. Nice line, but that's kind of a knock to Seth Rollins in a sense.
how, in a way, though? Because, I mean, it's not like, Seth Rollins is there, Roman's not, in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Seth Rollins is a champion that's there every week.
I get what you're trying to say, Kurt, because I didn't even think about it until you just said it. But he said he has to go around and act like a champion and shit, like the champion, and so it does shut down Rollins and all like that because Rollins is a champion.
Yeah, it's kind of a knock to him, but regardless, it was still a good line. And he talked about how Roman Reigns, while I do respect you considering what you did to me last year at WrestleMania, make no mistake, I hate your guts. And then he goes on to point at the WrestleMania sign, and he asks the fans to point at the WrestleMania sign with him, kind of like Bayley at the Royal Rumble. And then he's talking about how WrestleMania Night 1, we take care of Roman and Rock, and then WrestleMania Night 2, we finish the story. And then as he's saying that, the fucking Rock's music hits. And no one was expecting The Rock to be on the show because he's actually advertised for Raw coming up this Monday in Brooklyn, but he was not advertised for last night. And yes, his music did hit. He came out to a nice pop, and him and Roman stood face to face. No microphones in their hands, surprisingly. Yeah, and then Rock was putting...
You mean Rock and Cody stood, not Rock and Roman.
My bad, okay. And then The Rock came into the ring and him and Cody were standing face to face. No mics in their hands for some reason. And then Rock was acting like he was going to give Cody a hug, and Cody obviously wasn't having that. And then The Rock whispered something, which I didn't really catch at first. And then after he whispered what he said, he just walked out of the ring and walked away.
Man, what do you think he said to him, though? That was the big question at that moment.
He told Cody the plan is still intact. We're going to screw Roman.
Probably.
I don't think that's happening anymore. But
after what happened at the end of the night, so I don't think that's happening anymore.
Afterwards, one of the female backstage reporters like asking The Rock what he said, and The Rock says, "Ask Cody Rhodes." And then later on, I believe it was Kathy Kelly who was interviewing Cody, and she asked him, and then he said he couldn't repeat it, but he just basically said that The Rock made a promise that he won't be able to keep.
Now break that down. What is the code to that? What does that mean?
I don't know why he wouldn't have wanted to say it, but I kind of knew that something was going to probably go down later that night, considering, that he was still there and that The Rock was kind of like a surprise. I figured, that night wasn't going to end without him making another appearance. And come to find out, I was right. As Cody was fighting off Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa backstage, after they tried to interfere in the Jey Uso and Nakamura match, he was fighting them backstage. And as he was fighting them, The Rock attacks Cody from behind, and he fucking beats the shit out of Cody. Like, the vibe I was getting from The Rock in this segment was like the same kind of vibe I got from him from Royal Rumble 99. Like that's how fucking violent this shit was.
Like legit Attitude Era vibes. Like, he said, now remember, funny how it was foreshadowing. The Rock during his Rock concert the week before on SmackDown talking about how he's going to pull his belt out and he's going to put Cody's blood and tears on that belt. And he actually did that.
Yeah. Yes, he did.
Cody was bleeding. When was the last time we ever seen anybody bleed, man?
Well, I mean, all fairness, like it happened today. I mean, last night's match against Bronson Reed.
I'm sure we've seen it a couple times.
It wasn't supposed to be that way. He probably got injured, whatever. But it was blood in that match. Oh, Brock and versus Cody in Puerto Rico last year.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Brock got busted open nasty in that match.
That's right. Wow, that's right. You remember that?
Let me tell you something, Kurt. I was telling you this on the yesterday. Every hour had a star, right? We had The Rock and Cody first hour. Second hour, we had CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins. Third hour, we had Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley. These top of the hour, they know what they're doing. And to me, all those wrestlers told everybody in the back, step your fucking game up, because these are superstars.
Word up.
They told that to everybody in WWE, AEW, to whatever organization you have in wrestling. This is how you are as a wrestling superstar. This is how you act.
I believe because The Rock being there, and especially with the promos that he's been cutting, he's pretty much like, I think everybody else in the back is like, okay, what he's doing, we got to step it up.
It takes a great leader to have people step up,
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I liked about this segment was like what The Rock was beating the shit out of him, how they actually went outside and it was raining, and he just kept constantly talking shit to Cody. I made him bleed. And he just constantly kept saying, "Look at you now." He just kept saying that nonstop. "Look at you now. Look at you now." Like trying to do his best Chris Brown impression or some shit. But yeah, he kept constantly saying that. And he kept constantly like saying a bunch of shit, but you could tell like they were bleeping it out because he was cursing. And he said and he was like telling Cody like, this is what happens when you fuck with the bloodline. And then he takes Cody's blood and wipes it on his belt. And he like talks like to Cody's mom, saying at WrestleMania, "I'm gonna hand you this belt with your son's blood on it." And he talks about how your dad talked about hard times, but you're about to find out what hard times is all about. And he just said it didn't have to be this way, but now this is how it is. It's the only way.
The question I think, I mean, a little fast forward, bleeping the curse words. Even CM Punk had a little curse word and like called them dipshits and all. Does that change when Netflix comes around?
That's a good question.
You know what? It's a different set of rules how Netflix want to play. They could not bleep that out. There's a good, there's been rumors flying around saying how, like, what is the rating going to be like? Will Raw be like a TV MA or go back to TV 14 once they, go to Netflix next year? So,
well, it all depends actually on the company itself, WWE. Do they want that? Because if you go on a WWE network, they edit a lot of stuff, like the Roman Reigns when he faced Kevin Owens at Royal Rumble, and then they end up the whole not Seth Rollins, what's his name? With the whole turning of the bloodline, they turned on Sami Zayn. Remember the crowd was saying, "Fuck you, Roman! Fuck you, Roman!" This and that. But
Oh,
if you go back and rewatch it, it's cut out.
yeah, they do that a lot for some reason.
It's so stupid because that was such a moment, yo. It gave me goosebumps, and then you edit that out. It's like, yo, they said it. They said it.
And
It wasn't on regular TV, nothing like that. So it's like, come on, man, stop taking away moments.
And also No Way Out 2001 when Kurt Angle had the Rock and the ankle lock, he like specifically said, "I'll break your fucking ankle." Because I remember I used to have the
Yeah,
VHS and like on the network version, yeah, they beat that out too.
yeah. They are. It's like, come on, leave it the moments, man. We paid for this, right? Leave those moments
Mm.
in there. If it was on regular TV like USA or Fox, I get it, you know. But these moments, even if you watch the Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns Elimination Chamber last year, they said the same thing. Fuck you, Roman. This and all that's gone. Like all that momentum, all the crowd chanting, a lot of that is taken off and it's dumbed down. And it's like, dude, thank God I saw it live.
Yeah, definitely. And with the way you're talking about this now, are you going to start a campaign to bring back the Roddy Piper and Bad News Brown match from WrestleMania 6?
I always say yes because that's history. Learn from your history, and say what not to do. We mistaked it, but it's still part of the history, you know. So now I can't. It's like when in the beginning they were removing Chris Benoit matches. Like, come on, I don't agree what Chris Benoit did, but let me study his matches. Let me enjoy these moments and all. It's
Mm.
like it's hard to say. But look at Diddy. What's going on with Diddy? Are you gonna stop listening to Diddy's music? I don't agree with the fuck Diddy's
Thank
doing
you.
and shit. But I mean, a hit is a hit. You know that.
Yeah, I'm going to still listen to Biggie's music myself.
Yeah, don't take away my memory. I don't like R. Kelly what he did, but he has great music. And when I heard that song at that point in time, it took me back to a special moment.
I feel you. And it's funny how that's interesting. You mentioned, the Chris Benoit situation because, like, look, I get what he did. It's just that it really bothers me how his best match or his most memorable match when he
Yeah,
won the world title at WrestleMania
yeah,
20, it is tainted. And I don't care what anybody says. That is by far that is like the echelon. That is like the GOAT status of a triple threat match.
And that's like one of the GOAT statuses of WrestleMania moments too. Like that ending when Eddie comes
Yeah.
out and they hug. Like,
Yes.
yeah, that shit. Like, I still
Yeah.
get choked up when I watch it to this
yeah.
day.
That's a memory, man. It's a memory.
Yeah.
And you know what is even fucked up more?
Yeah.
Like they all assume this is what happened. You know, he killed these two and hung himself. Or what happened and he was set up. I don't know. I wasn't there. Were you guys there?
I kind of said that to myself too. I always wonder if that's like a cold case. We were told what happened, but at the end of the day, like we weren't there. We don't know specifically what happened. We don't know if what happened is true or not. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
And didn't they do a test on his brain and find out that his brain was all fucked up?
Yeah, they did. Vince tried to cover it up,
All
saying
right.
that if he had a brain like that, how would he be able to travel like a normal person? But obviously, we know what to take whatever Vince says with these days, or period. Oh, fuck Vince McMahon, by the way. Fuck Vince McMahon, by the way.
Yo, hey, don't worship no idols, man. You can't. R. Kelly let us down. Bill Cosby let us down. Vince McMahon lets us down. Donald Trump lets us down. Now Diddy letting us down.
Hulk Hogan let
They,
us down. Well, I never liked
oh
Trump
my.
to begin with, so that one doesn't matter.
Hey, they coming. They coming for Jay Z next.
Oh, shit.
Hey, listen,
Maybe
Jay Z
Beyonce,
was.
too.
Oh
I,
my God! Please don't
I
hate
love Jay
that.
Z, right? But yeah, he did records. He traveled with R. Kelly, and he's like best friends with Diddy. So you know they're looking at him now like, huh? You didn't know?
Yeah, even one of Diddy's sons is like kind of named in the lawsuit also. And I heard Cuba Gooding Jr. was also added to it.
Yeah, I saw that today too.
Damn.
But not to get off topic.
Yeah, let's get back into Raw. Yeah, that segment at the end with Rock and Cody, yeah, that shit was gold. It's been years since I've seen something like kind of like to that degree, especially from Rock, like that violent, vicious side. Yeah, it's been years since I've seen that from him. But I loved it. But the only thing is, and I've been saying this for weeks, and even last Friday on SmackDown confirmed it. Now at WrestleMania, you want to see Rock versus Cody. You don't really want to see Cody versus Roman.
And you know what, man? DJ, I want to ask you this. So for weeks now, ever
Yes,
since The
sir.
Rock has implemented himself into the storyline, right? It kind of feels like The Rock has really taken
Okay.
that spotlight. away from Roman. And me and Kurt, and I think the rest of the fans, wrestling fans all over feel that Roman Reigns is the third wheel, even though he's the champion, right? And it's kind of similar when you go back to WrestleMania 14, how you had the title match between Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin, but yet Mike Tyson was the enforcer. But it felt like the spotlight was so spot on Austin and Mike Tyson. Do you feel that way now with The Rock and Cody Rhodes? Do you feel like Roman Reigns is kind of like the third wheel?
You could say the same thing about The Rock and John Cena, where The Miz was the third wheel and he was the champion.
And also WrestleMania 18 with Triple H, Jericho, and Stephanie. Triple H and Stephanie should have been the title match that year.
Yeah. But
I was looking back at those episodes. I feel bad for Chris, man, because Chris was the champion, and he's pretty much, Stephanie's having him to do these chores for her, and I just felt bad for him, man. That was just not not a good spot for Chris to be in. You're the champion. You're pretty much playing third wheel. It sucks. But do you feel like Roman's the third wheel though?
I don't know if the third wheel I would use that, but at the same time, he's not there every week, and The Rock is. Yes, The Rock is such a star. He's gonna overshadow anybody. He's already huge. He's already bigger than anyone else and shit. He stands out. I think they're aware of that, and I think that might lead into the whole Rock versus Roman thing. I think that story is being told. When Roman came and he was like, "Oh, I don't feel appreciated. I don't feel appreciated. Let's get the hell out of here." And then Paul Heyman's like, "No. But he's coming out. He's coming out, The Rock." And then he has a face reaction. Roman Reigns like, "All right, whatever." I think it's geared for The Rock to overshadow him. I think it's part of the storyline.
All I know is next week on Raw, we do have Roman and The Rock scheduled to be there, and Cody better come out swinging. I don't want to hear any talking. I don't want to hear any diplomatic face of the company type stuff. I want him to come out like I want him to do to Roman and Rock what Scotty Appleton did to Nino Brown at the end of New Jack City. That's the shit he needs to be on Monday on Raw.
Real talk. Yeah.
All right, so that's not the only thing that we had on Raw this past Monday, as we also had a segment between CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins. But CM Punk came out first. This is actually his first real appearance in front of the fans since his surgery a few months ago. And I liked how he was talking about how he's not 100%, but his mouth still works. And he says, "I know we're not on Netflix yet, so I can get away with what I'm about to say, but AJ, she knows what I'm talking about." Word, that's how you do it, son. That's how you do it.
I know.
That mouth will open up doors for you, son. I'm telling you, that mouth will definitely get you to places that maybe your social status can't.
Yeah. Dude.
I'm the Michael Jordan of that shit, by the way, but that's another story. So yeah, CM Punk was talking about, different people on the roster, from your Seth Rollins to Drew McIntyre's to Roman. He also mentioned Roman because Roman said some shit about him on the Pat McAfee show the other day. And he said, "Roman, when I'm on my way up, I'm going to see you when you're on your way down."
Wow. Foreshadowing.
And then he talked about The Rock, and he mentioned how, you and I had our run-in a decade ago, and you realized back then that your arms are too short to box with God.
How could we ever forget that promo? I'm telling you right now, as good as a Rocky as he is on the mic, we both know, and everybody knows that Punk will own him on the mic.
Well, Rock's been killing it lately, though. I mean, I have to hand it to him. I don't like the political bullshit he did to, put himself in the spot in the first place, but he has held his end of it.
Of course.
Yeah, but in any event, so yeah, Punk's going on, and then as he's going on, he's interrupted by Drew McIntyre.
Of course.
And he's telling Drew McIntyre, "Get your bitch ass in here," and he talks about how
I love it when he said that. It's that stuff when he was saying stuff like that. I was, oh my God. I just say what you got to say up from your chest, man. Loved it. And he even told him to cut the music.
And he's talking about he's and then he goes on to say, "Are you a real man? Or are you just pretending to be a real man wearing a skirt?" And then he's saying, "It's 2024, bro. You can get canceled for saying that now."
Oh God. Since when has Drew McIntyre been a little sensitive about what they say these days?
And then he goes on to say, like, for somebody who's straight edge and who doesn't drink and do drugs, you spend an awful lot of time in rehab. Oh shit, that was great. That was
Okay,
great.
yeah, I get it. He got him with that one, but what Punk was just owning him.
Yeah, because Drew was going on to say he was the chosen one, and then Punk went on to respond saying, "By who? Who made you the chosen one? Say his name. If you have the balls to say his name, say his name." Yeah, that was
Yep.
good. That was good. That was fucking fire. And then as they're going on, Seth Rollins comes out to interrupt all this. And then Seth Rollins talks about how he hasn't like even thought of Punk since, that one segment they had on Raw a few months ago. And he talked about how you can't even be the guest referee because your good arm doesn't work. And then Punk shows that he could still count 1, 2, 3 with his other arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he goes on to say, like, I have to be honest, I couldn't be biased with you two dipshits in there. And you could definitely tell they beat that shit out right the fucking way.
Dude, I know that was I'm telling you what, that was my favorite moment from that segment alone. When he said that, I laughed so hard. Okay. It was too funny. The one thing that Punk said at the end of the promo, he said it was funny. Before that, it was, we look back at it, Drew was the one who kind of like mentioned about how about you just, be a guest commentator. It was his idea, or be a referee. It was his idea, and they pretty much just you got to remember, Seth and Drew, the irony was like, look, I want you to call my match so you can see me raise my hand. Like, Seth, I want you to call my match in my finest hour. Drew's like, I want you to call my match and see me raise the world title in front of the fans this time. And it's kind of like, wow, like they want Punk to be there to see this so it could hurt him.
But Punk ended it really well, where he said, like, on commentary, I'm gonna do what your little sword and what your little skirt can't do for you, referring to Drew McIntyre. And then he talks about Rollins and he says, and I'm gonna do for you what your crazy ass outfits and your wife can't even do for you, and that's make both of you interesting.
Yep, that was so funny. That was so funny when he said that. Bring your little bell bottoms, bring your belt, bring your wife. Dude, I'm telling you right now, bro, I laughed. It was so.
And then Drew McIntyre tries to go off even more, like talking more shit, and then Rollins just super kicks him and lays him out with curb stomp, which he would pay for later, as McIntyre would lay out Rollins with the double arm DDT, and that's would explain why Rollins didn't save Cody from the Rock's attack later on.
Man, I'm telling you right now, I even said this on Twitter, and follow us on Twitter, guys, at the Champs Clash on Twitter. Follow us. I said this on Twitter last night. I said it before, and I'll say it again. CM Punk is going to ruin Drew McIntyre's WrestleMania moment. I think Drew may get a moment for those brief seconds. For that moment, he may win the match. But I'm telling you right now, Punk is going to intervene and ruin it, because I really think Damian Priest is going to cash in.
It's very, very possible.
Yeah.
But I love this segment. This segment was great. Yo, I was so entertained from start to finish. But just like with the Cody and Rock stuff, now from this segment, you want to see either Punk against McIntyre or Punk against Rollins. You don't want to see the actual match we're getting.
Right.
As much.
Right. And here's the thing, though. It was good that they had to have this segment, because, like, you got to remember, for weeks they've been doing the whole, Cody, Seth, and Roman and Rock, right? And it really didn't put any much attention between Seth and Drew. They did have that one segment about a couple weeks ago, but they needed to do that. And once again, they're shifting gears back onto that spotlight, as they should.
Yeah, definitely. But as much as I've loved the build for WrestleMania this year, with the tag match, with The Rock involved and everything, both title matches don't feel like as big of a deal as maybe they should.
I know, because they've been putting so much spotlight on it, and you got to remember The Rock is involved. So, like, I mean, that should say it all,
Yeah, it's crazy. Even though The Rock didn't get that match with Roman, he's still like, kind of like been the biggest part of this whole build this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that segment was dope, and also another good segment we got from Raw last night was the segment between Rhea Ripley and also Becky Lynch. Rhea came out with Dominic and was talking her shit, talking about how like she's staying focused for WrestleMania, unlike Becky Lynch with her crazy ass matches. As Dominic is about to talk and the crowd's booing him, obviously, Becky Lynch comes out to interrupt. And she talks about how, like, unlike you, I don't need to come out after you've had a long ass match to come confront you. I can confront you face to face when you're still fresh. And she goes on and say how like Rhea makes the belt a joke and how all she does is do crazy things with her ass to make herself popular, while Becky goes out every night and has the best match in the show and like puts in the best effort, and that's what the champion should be all about. And then Rhea goes on to say that Becky's like a cockroach, but she's not going to kill that cockroach at WrestleMania. She's going to let her live so that the next night on Raw, she could sit and watch her on TV with her daughter while her daughter calls her mommy. Ooh.
Damn.
Ooh.
Personal, man. Ooh, got so personal.
Becky fucking lost it, and she went on to say, that's your one pass. And if you ever mention my daughter's name again, it will be the last thing you ever say. And then she goes on to say like how her dad never got to meet her daughter and how like she knows her dad was proud of everything she did, but the one thing he would have been most proud of is the mother that she became. And she was kind of like crying as she was saying all this. And then she says, the reason why you haven't swung at me yet is because you know once you do that there's no turning back. And after WrestleMania, neither one of us will be the same again. And then she throws the mic down, and then Dominic's kind of trying to separate them. And then as this is going on, Becky Lynch clocks Dominic right in the jaw and knocks him down on his ass.
Bro, I saw that in slow-mo. He like a legit like Mike Tyson like boom to the jaw, man.
I'm sorry, the only thing I could say is where's Chris Tucker from Friday when you need him to say, you got knocked the fuck out?
Literally.
And then Becky and Rhea start brawling. They start throwing hands at each other and then brawl outside the ring until they're ultimately separated by security. And yes, this is probably the best stuff they've done between the two of them in their build. I fucking love that segment.
Oh, I loved it. They needed that. That was something. Kurt, I'm telling you right now, they did for this year. When it comes to the women's division, they did a damn good job on the build-up because we talked about how they don't do a good job on the build-ups when it comes to the women matches, but yet the match will be good. This time, man, they really did a good job on their build-up.
Yeah, they've been doing it well with both women's matches for WrestleMania, but this one especially, I'm really amped for. This is going to be a big deal. And speaking of the women's division, and someone who used to be a part of the WWE women's division, Ronda Rousey has been making the rounds as her book, Our Fight, is going to be coming out next week on April 2nd. And a lot of snippets have been coming out from the book over the last week. And most of those snippets do not paint WWE's creative process, Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and Bruce Pritchard in the best light by any stretch.
Nope.
She has been taking shots at them like there is no tomorrow. And it is clear from the things that she is saying that she does not give a fuck. But I like it.
Does not come off well.
Does not come off well? What do you mean?
Sorry. That's not what I'm about to say. Sorry. Did not put Vince McMahon in a good spotlight, as I'm about to say.
Yeah, she basically said that she doesn't know where the evil Vince McMahon character that's on TV ends and the often accused of sexual assault, very questionable character of Vince McMahon, the real person, begins. She said that John Laurinaitis also and Bruce Pritchard can both go fuck themselves. And she said she wanted to talk a lot more shit about both of them, but she only had a certain word limit for the book. And yeah, she was telling all these stories about, the things we confirmed about how Laurinaitis was like turning NXT's women's division from like, girls who had like, real potential and real talent to like girls who were just eye candy and like, girls who look good in bikinis and stuff, a little sick piece of shit. And yeah, she was talking about that. She was talking about how like Bruce Pritchard was basically Vince's avatar and how basically Vince was running things through Bruce initially when he was gone the first time and how Vince was never really gone because of that. And she even tweeted that a few months ago, like when Vince resigned, like after everything came out, she tweeted that out that, as long as Bruce is in the company, that Vince still has a hand in it. Yeah, she also talks about like, the process for the women's division and how like really upsetting it was to see like the way they treated the women and how they weren't really treated as the priority that they should have been. And even the WrestleMania 35 match, even though it got the main event spot, like, it didn't really get like the attention and like the build that it really deserved. And I've even maintained that a long time, that it's great that match got the main event spot, but it definitely felt like it was all over the place with that build, where first it's Becky versus Ronda, then it's Ronda versus Charlotte, and then Becky has like a knee injury, and then they put Becky back in it, and then they have it for both women's titles. Yeah, that whole thing was all over the place.
It was just a mess.
Yeah, they had like one simple story to tell, and they had to fucking make it all confusing.
Mm.
Yeah, and she was also talking about how she got a concussion when Stephanie McMahon slapped her at Elimination Chamber in 2018. And also she got another concussion when Nikki Bella slapped her on Raw later on that year. And she kind of hid also for years her concussion issues from WWE because she was afraid it would affect her job, because she had concussion issues from back in her judo days. And she kind of felt like the pressure to keep it a secret because she didn't want them to find out about it. And it kind of seems like the main problems between her and WWE stem from like more of the second run, because she wanted to be a heel when she came back initially, but Vince McMahon said no. And just seeing the whole creative process and what they were doing with her at that period. And even during that time, during that second run, she was like very open about, how she was upset with like the process there and how she didn't like certain things going on there. And yeah, I even saw her posted on Instagram last year about like, that match with Liv Morgan and Extreme Rules, how they wanted to do certain spots, but they were told they weren't allowed to do it.
I remember that.
She even said at WrestleMania last year that Charlotte and Rhea were supposed to have a shorter match than they did, but Charlotte, stood up for both of them and said that they were going to go as long as they needed to, which is why the match turned out the way it did. Right. And I have no problem with that. The men do that sometimes too, so I don't have any issue with that. And I wasn't complaining with the match we got, for that matter.
Right.
But that's surprising though, because that was like one of the marquee matches at WrestleMania involving the Women's Royal Rumble winner, and they weren't going to give it that amount of time? What the fuck?
Man.
That was very strange to hear that, but I mean, I don't doubt that was the case.
That is strange.
Yeah, but it's clear from this book that she does not like Vince McMahon, does not like Laurinaitis, does not like Bruce Pritchard, which I've been saying for years. I know you've been a fan of Bruce Pritchard, but I've been saying for years that he defends a lot of their bullshit, and a lot of the things he says to defend their bullshit rubs me the wrong way. And it's clear from what Ronda is saying that there is something to that.
Mm.
I'm not gonna lie. I was watching WrestleMania 28, and they were showing John Laurinaitis on the screen, for that, like, Team Laurinaitis and Team Teddy Long match.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I get so heated whenever I see that dude's face. I hate Vince also, but I don't know, just something about Laurinaitis. I just look at his face and I just want to stomp the shit out of him.
Wouldn't blame you.
Yeah, but anyway, it seems like, she had an issue with those guys, but she seemed to be cool with the girls that were there. Like, she seemed to really have a good relationship with them. Like, she speaks highly of them and speaks up for them. She did say that working with Triple H and Stephanie was fine, though. She does speak highly of both of them.
Well, that's good. That's good. It goes to show you that, Triple H has his head on his shoulders, hence why the business is doing so well now.
Yeah, for whatever things you might have been mad at him about, like, during his career, like during like the Reign of Terror era and all that. Yeah, that shit is water under the bridge. He's more than made up for it in this last decade with the stuff he did for NXT, the stuff he's been doing since being the head of creative. He's done more than made up for whatever bad shit he may have done in the past. Yeah, some people are like saying that Ronda's like coming off a little bitter with her comments and very Ryback-like with her comments, but whether she is or not, that doesn't make what she's saying about WWE's creative process, especially with the way they treat women, it doesn't make it any less true. And we know that as fans. We know that as fans who have been watching for years the way they feel about the women. And somebody who was there, who was even a big star while she was there at that, is confirming everything that we've known this whole time.
No, there is truth to that.
Yeah, of course there's a lot of truth to that. And she was even saying these things before she left. And she said the main reason why she left, and the one thing she said about leaving, is that she didn't want to be a part of mediocrity. And she didn't want to be like Vince McMahon's action figure anymore.
Mm.
Look, I loved Ronda's first run from that night she debuted at the Royal Rumble in 2018 to that WrestleMania 35 with Becky and Charlotte. I loved that first run. But that second run when she came back and won the Royal Rumble randomly, and that whole feud with Charlotte, which we've been very critical of, on this podcast before, and just like everything she did afterward, yeah, it was just a disappointment. I don't know what it was. I don't know what caused it to be that way, but yeah, it just was not the same vibe.
I feel you, dude. Our, her second one didn't come off as well. Wasn't the same as far as the intensity and the attraction wasn't the same. Wasn't the same as the first.
Yeah, she didn't feel as special. It kind of felt like the aura to her was gone. And maybe we can see why that aura did disappear because of certain people in charge.
Right.
And fuck some of those certain people that were in charge. I'm glad they're gone.
Imagine how would have been like if she was still around. You know, if Triple H was in charge, things would have been completely different.
Yeah, like she even said that like her agent still works for TKO, and he tells her that like Vince is gone for good, he's not coming back, and she said that she'll believe it when she sees it because obviously Bruce Pritchard's still there, and she even said that before that as long as Bruce Pritchard's there, Vince still has a voice in everything.
Right.
Yeah, just so much it's been coming out from this book, and I can imagine what else is in the book once you read it.
Man, there's a lot of books on my list. I need to get. I'm actually still gotta finish some books right now. So, are you gonna read it?
Yeah, I'll read that book, but I'll probably get Becky's book first. Becky's book seems like the more compelling one out of the two. Also, I think Becky wrote it herself.
Oh, man, that's always good. Usually in biographies, they have somebody to help you out too, though. But it's different when you're the one who's writing it. That shows a lot. So.
Yeah, and we'll get into Becky and Ronda later when we talk about matches at WrestleMania we should have gotten but didn't. That'll be one of our categories. And speaking of that, we're going to get into a special part of our show today as we're going to break down some of our favorite WrestleMania moments, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Ooh, have you ever watched that? Kurt, have you ever watched that movie?
I don't think I have. No, I have not.
Oh no, you never. Well, wait. Tombstone's the only Western you watch, correct?
I believe I watched Tombstone once. Yes, I did watch Tombstone once.
Okay, Good and the Bad is a pretty good Western movie. I like it.
The best Western movie I would say I've seen, I don't know if you could really call it a Western per se, is Django.
It's a Western.
Yeah, Django was some wild shit.
I consider it a Western. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're the Good and the Bad and Ugly of WrestleMania, our special episode indeed, and I can't wait. Let's get to it.
In our first category, what's your favorite WrestleMania shocking / what the fuck moment?
Man. There's a couple. I think Triple H turning on X-Pac at WrestleMania 15 was a shocker moment for me. The Hardy Boys returning to WrestleMania 33 was like, whoa, like what? Like in a good way.
That shit was pretty crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, that shit was crazy.
Yeah, just like wasn't expecting that. It was crazy, dude. As much as how long that show was, man. I think when did that happen? Like in the middle of the show, or like kind of like almost towards the end?
It was the fourth match, but it was already like kind of 2 hours into the show already.
Yeah, that's like the middle. So yeah, that I was kind of like already kind of like borderline, kind of like, can you just end the show already type of deal. And then when this came up, that kind of like put some energy back into me, like, oh, I'm a little bit fired up again. But yeah, that was like a very good, shocking, like, whoa, what just happened moment for me. What about you?
I'm gonna go with Brock ending the streak at WrestleMania 30. I don't think it gets any more shocking than that.
Yeah, the match itself wasn't. It was meh, but everybody remembers for what happened that moment, and I get it. I know Taker had a concussion in the middle of the match, but when that happened, I kind of like, he's gonna kick out, and it didn't, and I was like, what? Just, I can't believe it's about to be 10 years pretty soon in a couple of weeks. Crazy.
Yeah, next week it'll be 10 years.
Yeah, and I just remember when it happened. I was just like that one fan when they took the picture of where his mouth was, jaw dropped open, his glasses was like sideways, and he just had that stoned look, shocked face for just the longest time, and that's how everybody felt, and it was so quiet in that stadium. I just wondered, just imagine being there would have been like. It was so quiet and eerie and surreal that had happened, you know?
Yeah, and going into that WrestleMania, that match didn't really have that much of a build. So you figured like, yo, it's just another win for Undertaker, cool. And then when he ends up losing, you're like, what the fuck? He lost?
I know. Do you
Holy shit.
to this day, do you still agree with the fact that Lesnar was the right choice to end the streak?
I mean, they ran with it after they did anoint him as the guy to break the streak, with the beatdown of Cena at SummerSlam and the run he went on afterwards.
Yeah.
But I agree with Undertaker when he says this. It could have been more beneficial to somebody else, like Roman Reigns, for example.
Hmm. Hmm.
But regardless, it was definitely a shocking moment, definitely a moment I'll never forget. And also another shocking Brock moment was one that happened the following year with the cash-in with Seth Rollins. That I'll also throw into there as like an honorable mention. That
Yeah.
one was
Oh
crazy.
yeah. Man, I can't believe I didn't mention that one, but that one was a crazy one, and you were there for it.
I was there for it.
Yeah, you were there for it. That's I think that's the one WrestleMania I want to like look back on and watch again. That was kind of like modern at that time, modern day. That was like my first modern. That's my favorite modern like WrestleMania that I like. So
I hear that.
not too long, not too short. Card was perfect. Shocking ending. Great ending, by the way. But that was a very decent WrestleMania. Underrated WrestleMania, should I say?
Yeah, it was a great WrestleMania. But yeah, I'll say the Brock breaking the streak was my most shocking WrestleMania moment. Other honorable mentions include, for me, Edge's spear to Jeff Hardy from the top of the ladder at WrestleMania 17. Also, Edge's spear to Foley through the flaming table at WrestleMania 22. That shit was nuts.
That crap was crazy. That easily say that was like the best hardcore match ever at a WrestleMania. Like, just this is stuff that you would usually see like like on a normal pay-per-view during the Attitude Era, though. But to do that at WrestleMania, though, and the thing is, they didn't have to do that, but they did. The thumbtacks, the barbed wire baseball bat, the table set on flames, and just all of that stuff that they did was just like over the top. They didn't have to do it, but they did it, and that was just the perfect setting to do it. And I love that match.
Well, they had to do it because Edge had a point to prove because he wanted to be in that main event spot and felt like he deserved it, but
Yeah,
they had him lose the belt after only having it for 3 weeks. And Foley never really had that, like, classic WrestleMania match, so they both won
true,
in that sense.
true. They had a point to prove. True.
And also another honorable mention of a what the fuck moment at WrestleMania was Jim Cornette's outfit at WrestleMania 10.
Yeah. I was just you will never get over that. It's been 30 years. That's crazy. He had he usually has like the normal outfits. Color scheme wise, not matching though. But what he had on at WrestleMania 10, like, what are you? Are you like an admiral? Like he had a whole captain thing, look, whatever he had going on that night. But it was freaking hilarious, dude. I was like,
It was like Liberace meets Jafar from Aladdin. That's kind of the vibe I got from it.
right.
All right, but speaking of WrestleMania 10, let's get into our next category. What's your favorite WrestleMania opening match?
Oh, easily. Come on now. Bret Hart versus Owen Hart. Best. Second, I will put Triple H versus Daniel Bryan. Crazy how that happened. But what was it, like 20 years in between of each other. You know what I mean? But yeah, that Owen versus Bret, brother versus brother. Like, and I know that meant a lot to you, and I'm sure that it means a lot to anybody else who has siblings. If you're the younger sibling, you always want to have a point to prove that, like, look, I could, do this better than my older brother. You know what I mean? And I'm quite sure that meant a lot to like a lot of people. The younger brother got the upper hand over the older brother. Did not expect that.
Yeah, that was a huge upset. And that match made Owen Hart. Because up until then, Owen Hart was always a
Yeah.
great wrestler, but he wasn't really somebody you would call a superstar per se. But that feud and that match especially made him a superstar.
Yep.
And the main reason why I have so much fond memories of this match and this feud is because I started watching wrestling initially around this time. I started watching wrestling like a few months after this WrestleMania, and that feud was still going on. And then when I actually went back and rinsed WrestleMania 10, and like that match was the first match, I just said to myself, like, yo, this show is going to be incredible. And this is just the beginning of it. Holy shit. And that went on to be one of my favorite WrestleManias and still is to this day. I know business wasn't good at the time in 94, but that WrestleMania is still a classic. And that is one of the reasons why it is.
I look back at WrestleMania 10. That was kind of like the like you have certain WrestleManias where this one is like the turn of like the century type of deal. Like, okay, like a new era is about to begin. Like WrestleMania 10 was like that beginning of that new era, that new generation era, right? 14 was like the beginning of the Attitude Era.
And 38 was kind of the beginning of this like new era we're experiencing now.
Yeah. I don't know, you could say like 18 or 19 was like the, ruthless aggression. And then for the golden age, like the 80s, you could say maybe 3, maybe.
I would say one. I would say more WrestleMania 1 because it was the first one.
Okay.
And it's funny, the 10th WrestleMania was happening at the same place the first one happened, being Madison Square Garden. And yeah, that match is just
Yeah.
incredible. And Owen winning was the right move because with Brett winning the title later that night, it set up Owen as being the number one challenger and for that feud to still go on. And that feud was one of the best things they had in WWE at the time.
I love the ending. Like, Brett wins the title and everybody's celebrating with him and everybody's happy for him. But then Owen comes back out and he's kind of
What
like,
about me?
yeah, I beat Brett. But at the same time, it's like it was overshadowed because of Brett's title win. And it was foreshadowing to say, okay, Brett's the champion, but like, okay, he beat Brett. And now Owen's that up and coming guy now. And which he did. Owen challenged Brett for the title at SummerSlam later that year. That was like a cliffhanger, like foreshadowing ending.
Yeah, it was. But getting back into some other great opening matches at WrestleMania, that Daniel Bryan and Triple H one was incredible, especially with the story and the feud they had going into that match. Yeah, they both fucking
Yeah.
delivered.
I'm sorry, that was like the right move to do. You needed to finish that because at that time, like CM Punk is gone. I didn't know what the hell they were doing. And I later to find out that the original plan was to do Triple H versus CM Punk. I was like, what the hell are they doing? And I was saying to myself, they did not finish their feud. Daniel Bryan and Triple H really didn't finish their feud because that crap was going on since last summer. And Daniel Bryan always had issues with them, and like you never really finished it. And that was good that they finished it that night. They had to finish that feud, man. They really didn't like. I cannot believe they really was going to do Triple H versus CM Punk. Like, how were they going to pull that off?
Yeah, just certain things, especially when Vince was in charge, he had to be like pushed into. Even the Brett and Owen feud, he had to be pushed into because initially he didn't want to do it because he didn't think that brothers fighting was realistic. How
Yeah,
is
it is realistic.
Yeah, it's very realistic, and that's like just shows you how out of touch and like not knowing what the fuck is up the dude was like. And also not wanting to follow through on this feud. Yeah, those are just like certain examples of that, but that's another story. But yeah, that match was incredible. Definitely set the tone for that WrestleMania 2. Also kind of a similar vibe to Brett and Owen where Daniel Bryan wrestled 2 matches just like Brett did.
I got that vibe.
And also I know another match that you would say is one of your favorite openers at WrestleMania was the Rey and Eddie Guerrero match from 21.
Yeah. Love that match. First time you had 2 tag team champions facing each other at a WrestleMania.
Yeah, and this was only the start of their feud, but that match was fun.
Yeah.
And unfortunately would go on to be Eddie Guerrero's last WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And also another honorable mention I'll put in for my favorite WrestleMania opening match, the Money in the Bank from WrestleMania 23. The match was fucking nuts.
Yeah. The craziest spot from that match was when Jeff Hardy did that jump from the ladder onto Edge while Edge was laying on the ladder. And it was crazy. You thought you knew that Edge had the upper hand in winning that match because, he never, he's good at at these ladder matches, and he's won the Money in the Bank before, but he ends up getting taken out. And the crazy thing about that was is that I know this is a different story, but like he loses the match, but then later on he ends up getting the briefcase. But it was just a crazy sequence though. But I think that was the first time that we actually had like I think it was wasn't it like eight wrestlers in that match? It was eight, right?
Yeah, there were 8 people, but it didn't really feel like overkill. Yeah, that spot was crazy when Jeff Hardy leg drop Edge from the top of
Right.
that ladder through the other
Yeah.
ladder, and they both had to be
Yeah.
taken out. That spot where Randy Orton did the RKO to CM Punk off the ladder was dope. And honestly, one of my favorite spots of the match is that like just makes my jaw drop was the part where Mr. Kennedy does the like cannonball finisher. It's a hornswoggle from the top of the ladder. Yo, that shit was nuts.
I think funniest moment from that match was when King Booker was about to get the briefcase, but Matt Hardy had Queen Charmel in the twist of fate, and then JBL was saying, "Forget her." There's other women out there. I laughed so hard when I saw that.
Yeah, they're not like Charmel though. You're not. There's a lot of women out there, but not like Charmel.
That was the funniest thing ever. JBL was like, he's like, "Forget her. Don't just get the briefcase." Oh man.
Yeah, that match was fun. But speaking of ladder matches have been a huge staple in WrestleMania ever since WrestleMania 10 with the Razor and Shawn ladder match. So I want to ask you for our next category, what's your favorite WrestleMania ladder match?
Wait a minute. Hold on. I need to take a step back. I can't jump the gun
Yeah,
because I
there's a
wanted
lot
to
of
say
them,
the
bro.
first one.
There's a lot of
I
them.
know. I know. We can never forget the first one. We can never forget our first, Kurt. But man, Sean and Razor is the starting point of it. But man, how could we forget the triangle ladder match from WrestleMania 2000? TLC.
Yeah, the one in 2000 was great, but it's hard for me to pick which one I like better between the one in 2000 and also the one in 17.
Man, like I okay. This is gonna be a tough one. I like 17, but the one from 2000 just hit differently because that was kind of like a first. It hit differently. I like 2000 more.
And I get it because in a way it was a star-making performance for all 6 of them because like that was their first WrestleMania and like that's like the match that kind of put all 6 of them on the map. And also the ending to that match too was a lot better where it was Edge and Christian winning the titles for the first time after they went to WrestleMania
Yeah.
6 together, and here they are 10 years later winning the tag titles in this
Mhm.
crazy ass match. And then that ending when
Mhm.
they had the table on top of the 2 ladders and then they push Matt Hardy off of it and they both grab the belts at the end. Yeah, it's a great moment. And not to mention the other spots in the match, specifically the spot when Jeff Hardy does a swanton to Bubba Ray off of the ladder through the table, but he
Yeah.
kind of falls off right before he's about to jump off. Yeah, that shit was crazy.
That was yeah. How could you ever forget that spot? And I think the one that takes away from 17 was that like look, you had involvement. Rhino was involved. Lita was involved. Even Spike Dudley got involved. And like it was funny how Rhino helped Edge and Christian to win. Edge and Christian to win that match. You know what I mean? So I like the first one was my favorite. 2000 was my favorite. Sean and Razor just it hit differently, man. Because I mean, I was just watching the match like just what a couple days ago, dude, and just the things they're able to do, like oh my god, and you know, and the spots that they did, and it's just two people. It just is really tough to. It's between Sean and Razor and the triangle. Those are like my top two favorite.
Yeah, if I had to pick one, fuck, this is hard. If I had to pick one, just for the fact that it set the tone, I'm gonna have to go with Razor and Shine. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Razor and
Yeah.
Shine. I just watched it today, actually, and 30 years later, it still holds up.
It's still damn. It does still hold up, and the one thing that I loved about that match, there was actually like a legit, genuine, good storyline buildup that they had for it because it was for two belts. That was the storyline because Sean was suspended, and then they had another title match, and Razor was the champion. Sean comes back and claims that, hey, I was never beat for the title. I'm still the champion. So they decided, well, how about we put both belts up? And they did.
Yeah, that was the perfect story, and it paid off well. And also, this match was a star-making performance for both of them too. Pretty much
Yeah.
from this point on, Sean was in nothing but marquee matches at WrestleMania pretty much for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the start of the whole Mr. WrestleMania thing for Shawn Michaels. I think this match was the start of that for him.
It was, and it was the perfect setting. Madison Square Garden of all places. That was just the perfect setting and the perfect, event to do it.
The one thing I wanted to maintain is that Razor Ramon, for some reason, didn't get enough credit for this match. I always said that for years. As great
No,
as
he
Sean
didn't.
was,
Kinda-
I always felt like Razor Ramon didn't get enough credit for the performance he put on in this match too.
I know, and it's because of the stuff that was most of this, because like you got to remember like what the spots that Sean was doing. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying Razor didn't do any good spots. Razor did good spots too, though. But like Sean literally like jumped from the ladder, splashed from the ladder. He even not jumped, but he even like I remember he got on the ladder and he flew from the turnbuckle down onto Razor. You know what I mean? So it was stuff like that. Even though Razor did win the match, though, but it's kind of like all right. It's kind of like in a movie, like The Dark Knight. Like, oh yeah, Christian Bale was the leading actor. He's Batman, but who takes most of the credit from that movie? Heath Ledger as a Joker. So that's how I saw it. Razor Ramon won the match, but who was everybody talking about from that match? Sean.
Yeah, I get it, definitely. But yeah, they both killed it. It's definitely another example of the great work the Clique was doing together at the time, regardless of what you felt about the
Yeah.
backstage politics.
Well, it takes two to tango.
Yeah, definitely. And I like that spot at the end when Sean gets trapped in the ropes and then Razor finally gets the ladder and then grabs the belts.
Yeah, that was oh my god, that was perfect. Perfect.
And that pop he gets at the end is priceless. Yeah, that pop he gets when he grabs those belts. Yeah, it's incredible.
I said like, this is one thing I want to say. I get that WrestleMania, they always want to have it in stadiums. They want to make it, look big and everything and all that stuff. Though, but like, man, it really kind of hurts me how they, stop doing the tradition of, going to the Garden every 10 years.
Yeah, I understand, but that TLC 2 at WrestleMania 17, just talking about that one real fast, that one was still great too. And that stadium setting really hooked it up and like really made it an even bigger deal. But I don't know if I could say I like it as much as the first two, like that triangle one from 16 and also the one in SummerSlam a few months after. Yeah, I don't know if I could say that I like it as much as
Yeah.
those first two because yeah, they had a lot of other people involved, like Rhino, Lita, and Spike Dudley. And then, not to mention some of the spots in the match, although they were great, a lot of it was kind of their greatest hits in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the craziest spot in that match definitely was that spot where Edge spears Jeff Hardy from that top of the ladder when he's hanging from the belts. Yeah, that shit is definitely one of the WrestleMania highlights. Like, if you make a highlight reel of like the most memorable WrestleMania moments, that's definitely in the top 10.
Of course, of course.
All right, but let's move on to our next topic. What's your favorite WrestleMania return?
You know what? I have to go with Undertaker from 31. And the reason why I say that, I'm not going to go into the fact, well, oh, he should have worked with Sting and all that stuff. It's not about that. You got to remember, Taker wasn't the same anymore. Prior to that, he had a concussion, and he looked different. Just wasn't the same person. Everybody was concerned about, just about a lot of things. And him going into that match, I was very concerned about, you know, how well he's going to do. But when I watched that match, he did better than I expected.
Interesting. I would say maybe Undertaker at WrestleMania 20, but that 31 is an interesting pick.
I wanted to say 20 though. But like it was just that for 31, there was like again, there's like a backstory behind that, like a real life backstory that I saw.
I get it. I'll say probably my favorite WrestleMania return, and the one that's probably paid off the most since that return happened, was Cody at WrestleMania 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. That was a good one.
Yeah, it was the worst kept secret in wrestling. You kind of thought it was going to happen anyway, but
Right.
and also honorable mentions, one that I was actually
Yeah.
there for. The Hardys won at WrestleMania 33 was also incredible. That reaction they got when they came out was fucking out of this world, son.
Mhm.
Out of this world.
I know. That was probably the loud. That was like the loudest that stadium was that night.
Yeah, I'll say so. Yeah, for that. The opening match they were pretty hyped for also. And the Goldberg and Brock match they were
Yeah.
into too. Yeah, I'll say that much. But that Hardy's return
Yeah.
was definitely one of the highlights of that whole show.
Yeah.
Also, another great return was the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 8.
Yeah. That was a weird one. And no, seeing him come back was good, but just how the way it happened, man, it's just again that Hogan and Sid Justice match should not have went on last, man. Oh my god.
And honestly, it probably shouldn't have happened, period,
Oh yeah,
which
yeah.
actually brings me to my next topic. What's a WrestleMania match that we did not get that we should have gotten?
Oh, there's two that come to my mind.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, we just mentioned it. Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair, and then it should have happened. It was happening at the right moment, at the right time, because Flair had just came in at that time, pretty much like what towards the end of '91, right?
Yes.
Perfect timing to do it, but he didn't do it. And then another one was when you look back to this day, everybody should be like, "Hey, Undertaker versus Sting," but they never. I don't know. They never did it.
Yeah, definitely. I'll probably say Hogan and Flair is my number one too, because yeah, that was the perfect time
Yes.
for them to do it, perfect circumstances.
Mhm.
And although I love that Savage and Flair match from that WrestleMania, going back to watch that WrestleMania, it should have definitely been Hogan and Flair. That's the biggest match they could have
Yeah,
done, and they blew it.
man, that would have. Yeah.
But an honorable mention for this category, I'll also say that I talked about it a few minutes ago. Becky and Ronda Rousey one-on-one at WrestleMania 35.
Oh yeah.
That had enough buzz behind it where they could have done it for the main event of WrestleMania, and people would not have complained. Charlotte's great, don't get me wrong. I like Charlotte, but she was the third wheel in that storyline. She did not need to be involved in it.
I feel you.
Also, another one I'll mention, also another WrestleMania match we should have gotten that we didn't, was Hogan and Austin at WrestleMania 18.
Yeah, I mean, look, nothing against Rock and Hogan. It that worked out perfectly. I mean, you know how that went well, but Austin was like that. Austin's like the guy, before The Rock was, so it could have did Austin versus Hogan.
And also a match we could have gotten had it not been for this person's untimely death, Shawn Michaels and Eddie Guerrero at WrestleMania 22.
That was supposed to originally. That was supposed to be. That was supposed to happen for 22. Yeah, that was originally supposed to be the plan.
Yes. And also, maybe this WrestleMania would have been more of a success had they gone in this direction instead of the direction they went in. We should have gotten a Hogan and Warrior rematch at WrestleMania 7.
Yeah, I remember you had talked about that.
I feel like maybe they would have had a better chance of filling up that Coliseum in LA had they made that the rematch at WrestleMania that year as opposed to what they did instead.
It's so funny. We talked about how man, they could have filled that up in the Coliseum, but what's so the irony behind that? It rained that day.
Oh, I know, it did.
It rained, so it was kind of like it was saying, funny.
And one more I'll mention before we move on. One more WrestleMania match we should have gotten that we did not is Triple H versus The Rock at WrestleMania 2000.
Yeah, that was something that should have happened. And every week they were just throwing people in there randomly. Rock wins the Royal Rumble, but Big Show protested that his feet was on the floor first, and then they set up a number one contenders match at No Way Out. Big Show wins, and then Rock, and Mick Foley was done, and then Linda McMahon brings him back, and I'm like, whoa, whoa. I was like, oh, it was just everywhere, man.
Just like the Ronda and Becky thing, they had one match that people wanted, that people would have been invested into, but they just threw everything all over the place and they just couldn't help themselves. And they just threw
Yeah,
everything all over the place and just made it confusing.
all over the place, man.
Yeah, but let's get into our next category. Speaking of that, what's one WrestleMania match that should have had a different outcome?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, I hope we get the better outcome in a couple weeks, but I'm still holding on to the fact that Cody Rhodes should have won last year.
That's a fair pick. Yeah, that's a fair pick.
Yeah, honorable mention. Well, I have two. One is that The Rock should have won the title at WrestleMania 2000. Do you know, Kurt, that he has never won a main event, a world championship main event at WrestleMania?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Never. Lost at 15, lost at 16, lost at 17, and lost at 29.
Yes, that is true.
Crazy.
The Roman and Cody one, that one is still to be determined about whether or not they'll pay it off the right way. But as of now, yes,
Yeah.
that is definitely one that is up there. But if I had to pick
All right.
one that definitely did not go down the right way, and I've said this for years, and I'll still say this until the day I die,
Hmm.
Triple H and Booker T at WrestleMania 19.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I love WrestleMania 19. It's one of the best WrestleManias. It's in my top 10, but I always fast forward that match when I go back and watch it.
I think the only thing I like about it was probably the commentary in that match, though. But it's another story, though. But yeah.
Another honorable mention I'll put in there is Sting and Triple H at WrestleMania 31.
Mm. Sting finally gets his WrestleMania moment, but loses, though. I thought that was weird. I thought I was like, man, Triple H won. I was like, huh. I was like, wow. Did not expect that. I thought Sting was going to win, but it was weird.
Yeah, even Scott Hall told the story like when they were doing rehearsals for that match, and then when they found out that Triple H was going to be the one winning, him and Hogan just looked at each other in shock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Sting's only WrestleMania match. It's his first time at a WrestleMania and his first ever WWE match, period, and you have him lose?
Yeah.
I mean, I get they were doing that segment with, Rock, Triple H, Stephanie, and Ronda later in the show, but still, bro, come on.
I know. That was a shocker. And I still love that event. I do, but it was just like, man, why? Wow, I was like, Sting lost. I was like, oh,
Yeah, very weird, but
I
what are
kind
you
of,
going to
I was shocked. I scratched my head on that one. I was like, whoa. And it was, look, let's be real. Were you surprised that they shook hands after?
Yeah, it was. Look, I like the whole NWO and DX interference thing that made it fun, but yeah, that outcome and all that, yeah, it was just strange. And also, I feel like that match should have been
Mhm.
Sting and Undertaker instead, but whatever, things happen the way they do. Getting into another category, what's a WrestleMania match that should have gone on last?
Ooh.
Surprised you even have to think about this one.
No, I mean, there's a lot, man. I mean, not anything recent though, but I'm trying to think back to like even to the earlier days. I think, oh yeah, I mean, I think Flair and Savage should have went on last.
At WrestleMania 8, that would have been a better way to end the show. Hell, even WrestleMania 7, Warrior and Savage should have probably gone on last too.
No, I'm very critical about depending on whatever circumstances that you cannot put your title below the main event. You can't do that. I know I get that Savage and Warrior was a retirement match though, but what was the whole theme of that event? Stars and Stripes Forever, and who was Hogan facing against? Sergeant Slaughter. You know what I mean? It was for the title, and it was Hogan, and that was I was okay with it though. But when it came to Flair versus Savage, that should have went on last because that was the title. And that match itself had a very more personal, deep storyline versus Hogan and Sid Justice. Everybody was just saying, "Oh, it could be potentially be Hogan's last match." Okay, and how the way that match ended, insult to injury, man. Boy,
Yeah, if it hadn't been for that Ultimate Warrior save at the end, that shit would have been even worse than it was.
dude, just how the weight you and on a disqualification. Like, are you kidding me right now? I was like, wow, dude, no. Flair versus Savage should have went on last, bro.
Yeah,
And
but
that was a way better entertaining match than Hogan and Sid Justice.
yes, it was. But I'll say my pick for the WrestleMania match that should have gone on last that did not is Rock and Hogan from WrestleMania 18. And you can fight with me on that one to the death. I will never, ever let that one go.
That's fine. A lot of people say that.
Definitely. Yeah, I know it wasn't a title match. I get that. But for that crowd reaction and considering the star power of both of them, there was nothing on that fucking card that could follow that. Even Triple H and Jericho themselves knew that. Even they knew that.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't see it live. But then when I found out the results the next day
I
and
did.
found out that Triple H and Jericho went on last and Rock and Hogan did it, I said, "What the fuck? Rock and Hogan wasn't the last match? What the fuck?" Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, I know. I watched it last, so but
Yeah, but that should have gone on last. And also an honorable mention, the one I'll put as a close second for the match at WrestleMania that should have gone on last but did not, is Batista and Undertaker at WrestleMania 23.
no, I'm sorry. Some people that's one or I will not defend. I'm sorry, and I've told you this before, and I'll stand on this. As much as Batista was popular, John Cena was always like first runner up in all aspects. Merchandise sales, just popularity, Cena was like number one. And you want to, people talk about, well, Taker won the Royal Rumble. Well, excuse me. Well, Rey Mysterio won the Royal Rumble the year before, and he wasn't in the main event. John Cena and Triple H was in the main event that night. So I get it. I look, Taker and Batista was the better match. It was. Shawn and Cena's match was good too, though. But you got to look at the fact that you got to look at the popularity polarizing figure at the time as well. That's kind of like how, let's pretend how it was the Attitude Era and you had two world champions. Let's say Austin had a match and The Rock had a match separate. I mean, who are you going to put in last?
I get it, but at the end of the day, for me, it kind of depends on which match has the better story. And I felt like that year at WrestleMania, Batista and Undertaker had the better feud.
Yeah, I know. True. That is true.
You're not wrong about Cena being the bigger star. I get that, but I just feel like Batista and Undertaker was the bigger match.
I know because the storyline. I get that. And it's kind of similar to what they were doing with Hogan. I was just saying earlier. Yeah. Savage and Flair should have went on last, but like Hogan was that popularizing figure. That's why he went on last. That's the only excuse why they'll put Hogan last because it's Hulk Hogan. Yeah, I mean, no, Batista and Taker. That match was just unbelievably just amazing. That's one of my favorite WrestleMania matches, and the storyline, the build up for like months was just absolutely just entertaining. It was, but dude, John Cena was like, that's your polarizing figure. That's the only excuse.
Fair enough.
You could say you could go back to last year. Go back to last year. What buildup was better between Triple H and John Cena in a triple threat match? The triple threat match buildup was better between Mysterio, Orton, and Angle. When I look back at it, that had a better storyline buildup than John Cena versus Triple H.
And also, it's about the way the show ends. Like, Undertaker winning the title for the first time in 10 years would have been a better way to end the show than John Cena
Yeah,
retaining the
versus
title once again.
and at that time that really pissed me off because like I felt like Sean should have won that match, and people say, "Well, Sean, you say he didn't need it and all that stuff." I'm like, bro, if you're gonna have Taker beat Batista, who was one of the faces of that era, then you need to have Sean to beat Cena, who was another face of that era as well. And Sean hadn't had the belt for 5 years at the time. That ate me up. I was like, dude, Sean did not win. I was livid. That's when I started to like dislike John Cena at the time because it's like they were just literally just pull, like I get it, it's John Cena, but they just literally just putting him above. And I did not like the decision that they made. I just, to this day, I was like, bro, I cannot believe Sean lost that match.
Yeah,
Fucked
I
me up.
get it. But a big reason why probably Taker won was because of the fact that it's WrestleMania and he had the streak. So that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
also a factor
yeah.
that played into it. Yeah, but I get where you're coming from. But let's move on to our next topic. Who had the best retirement at WrestleMania?
Ooh, it's a tough one. I had to go with Sean at 26. It's kind of tough. I want to say Flair from 24, but Flair was just sad how the way that match ended. And Sean was just hesitant, but he had to do what he had to do. Sean from 26 against Undertaker was like, the match was great. And then you just felt like, I truly felt like, okay, Sean is going to get it done this time. He's going to get it done. Didn't happen. You're just like, fuck. But the ending, the send off at the end of the match was good. It was great.
Yeah, when him and Undertaker hug at the end, and then like he has a few
Yeah,
minutes to, like, shake hands with the fans,
yeah,
and he
yeah,
gets like down on his knees one last time. Yeah, and that's how the show pretty
yeah,
much ends. Yeah, it was a beautiful way to
yeah,
send him off. And the thing I would say maybe that I like more about his retirement than Flair's is that he actually stuck to his retirement.
yeah.
He retired in the main event of WrestleMania and a match against The Undertaker, another classic match at that. Yeah, that's a perfect send off, bro.
Yeah.
The Flair one was great too, with everything they did going into it, with like the whole storyline. If he lost another match, he would have to retire, and then him going into the Hall of Fame the night before, and then him and Sean having the match they did.
You kind of knew that Flair was going to lose. You kind of knew.
Yeah, exactly. Like you knew it was coming, but then when it came and when it actually happened, yeah, it does hit you hard. When Sean super kicks him and says "I love you" right before,
And I'm sorry. I love you, and I'm sorry.
yeah, and then Flair takes in that ovation, and then he hugs his family at ringside and he's crying, and then like he raises his hands up one more time. Yeah, it's a beautiful way for a career to end. It sucks that he didn't stick to it, but that's another story. But just on that night, the way they played that out, yeah, that shit was definitely special.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the send off they had for him on Raw the next night.
Oh yeah, that was beautiful.
And also another great retirement at WrestleMania, although we didn't know we were getting it at the time, was Austin in WrestleMania 19.
Yeah, we didn't know it at the time. That was crazy.
Yeah, but like looking back at it now, when you go back and watch it and like see like him and The Rock have that conversation after the match is over, and then you see him like taking that ovation one last time and raising his hands
Mhm.
one last time and all that. You're like, damn, this was really it. Like, damn, this was really the end
Yeah,
of like the Austin that we knew of.
I know, and I even watched a documentary of that entire WrestleMania, and they were going in depth with that, and yeah, it was very heartfelt, and you knew. I was like, man, that was it. I was like, man, and I thought that was at that time, even years later, I thought like, yeah, man, exercise, that's it. And then a couple years ago, never would I expect Austin to like, man, Austin was gonna have another match again, but against Kevin Owens, even though it was a segment, it was a KO show, but like it turned into a match, and I loved it. That night one of WrestleMania, was it 38? That was a good one. Better than night two.
Yeah, like I was saying a few minutes ago, that WrestleMania in 38 was kind of the start of this era we're experiencing now, like when you look back at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Austin's from 19 was a memorable retirement. Also, the very first retirement we ever got at a WrestleMania was actually at WrestleMania 3 with Piper. I know that one didn't stick either. Piper retired at WrestleMania 3. And like he won that match with Adrian Adonis, and he got that nice ovation afterwards, and he like went out on the card and was like waving at everybody. You're like, damn, you really thought like it was the end for Piper at that point. Imagine if he stayed retired after that
Mm.
match. Like imagine if he actually never came back to wrestling after that WrestleMania.
Wow, that would have been crazy.
We would have never gotten that great match yet with Bret Hart at WrestleMania 8.
Yeah, that's a hidden gem match for me. It's like one of my favorite. Those are hidden gems.
Or him spraying Morton Downey Jr. with the fire extinguisher when he came back at WrestleMania 5. And speaking of WrestleMania 5, let's get into our next category. What was your favorite WrestleMania heel turn? And funny enough, the very first WrestleMania heel turn happened at this show.
Favorite heel turn?
Yeah, favorite heel turn in WrestleMania.
I have to go with Triple H turning heel because that was kind of like at 15. That was kind of like we started to see the Triple H that we know now. Sucked that he had to turn on DX, but for the first time he needed to step out on his own slowly.
Yeah, it was a well done heel turn, and definitely what happened afterwards made it all worth it. And it did suck that he turned on X-Pac, and like it was the end of that DX that we knew and loved, especially that version of DX. But I'll say my favorite heel turn at WrestleMania would have to be Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13.
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew it. That was kind of like it was a shocking one and a sad one at the same time because it's like you got to remember, Bret was just frustrated prior to that, man. Just frustrated. And in reality, he went in that match as the baby face, and Austin was the heel. But man, how crazy how things happened. How in the middle of that match, the tide was turning where the crowd started to cheer for Austin, but then boo Bret. Especially after what happened at the end of the match.
Yeah, they didn't really boo Bret until after the match, like when he kept attacking Austin after the match was over,
Oh yeah,
and then Ken Shamrock had to take
yeah,
him off of him.
yeah,
Like that's when they really turned on him, and
yeah,
it hurt. Like being a hardcore Bret fan that I was back then, it hurt to see him turn bad. Yeah, that one really like stuck a knife in my heart.
Damn. It was weird seeing Bret as the heel during that whole year. He did a good job with it, but just seeing him heel was just like, man, Bret Hart's a heel. And he's usually like, man, he's a good guy. He's giving the kids in the front row the sunglasses, and like, man, Bret's a heel. Oh man, I know that struck a nerve in you though. But
Look,
man.
it hurt, but what we got on TV following that was fucking worth it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I said, that year was like a real turnaround for WWE, especially after that match. Their product got a lot better from those few months going forward. And one of the reasons why was because of that turn and the whole Hart Foundation stable. As much as I hated him and all the shit he would talk about America, it made the show a lot more interesting to have that main bad guy to root against. So that's why I say this is the best heel turn in WrestleMania history because of what it led to after.
I agree.
Also, Trish at WrestleMania 20 was good too. Trish at WrestleMania 20 was another good one.
I was pissed. I was pissed.
Trish one was good. She definitely did a lot.
That should piss me off.
Yeah, I get it, but she definitely did well with it afterwards, especially with that whole feud with Lita that followed. Yeah, and yeah, she was a far better heel during this one than she was like when she first came in, like in 2000.
Yeah, I know, but that shit pissed me off though. I'm just saying at that time it pissed me off, like bro, like you accidentally cost Jericho the match, and then you slap the hell out of him, and then you kiss Christian at the end of the match. I was like, you mofo.
I'm not gonna lie, I have to be honest. In her case, and also Lita's, some girls just look a lot better when they're bad.
Okay.
Shit. And also the first heel turn that ever happened in WrestleMania, I know you'll appreciate this one, was Rick Martel at WrestleMania 5.
Thank God. That was that boy. I'm telling you right now, that was a dawn of a new era. That was a blossoming effect that needed to happen because what happened? He became the model Rick Martel, baby. That's right. It needed to be done, Kurt.
Yeah, I guess maybe he turned because he didn't like the kind of cologne that Tito Santana was wearing, so he had to start his own cologne to counter it. So yeah, I guess that's right.
Yeah, that cheap cologne. Yeah, that cheap cologne from the swap meet. That's what happened.
How do you know he got it from the swap meet? That's kind of racist, son.
Hey, I'm just joking. Come on now. Bobby Heenan made jokes towards Tito Santana. Come on.
He used to call him the flying burrito. Oh my God. You would never get away with that today. You would never get away with that today.
Exactly.
All right, but and I know Austin turned heel at WrestleMania 17, but I'm not really crazy about that one personally.
No, hell no. That's the one that like put a hole in my heart. Like oh my God.
Yeah, because with the Bret one, it hurt, but the product afterwards like really improved because of it. But with the Austin one, the product just fell off because of it.
Just just seeing Austin just damn at that event. If this was at a different event, I would have been like, oh, right, okay. But at that event, and an insult to injury, you shake Vince's hand. Oh,
And in Texas, of all places, yeah, that was a bad move.
dude, I think Austin to this day he kind of regretted doing it.
No shit. Yeah, the product was not the same after that. Yeah, those few months, especially after WrestleMania 17, with him as a bad guy and also The Rock being gone, yeah, it was not the same vibe in WWE anymore. The decline of WWE's business can be traced back to that move.
Yeah, as much as a lot of people like to, love that WrestleMania a lot, I just, that ending of it, which is like, man, if it, I don't know, man.
I guess nothing we can do about it. But getting into Austin, let's get into our next topic. What's your favorite WrestleMania babyface turn?
Can we say that Savage turned babyface at WrestleMania 7 after the match?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course he did.
Okay, yeah, that's wait, no. You know what? My favorite one,
Which one?
Hogan against The Rock at 18.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I don't hate that pick. Not at all. Yeah, that was a great.
That's
Yeah, that atmosphere in the Skydome was incredible with the reaction Hogan got. And then, even though he didn't win, the
really didn't
reaction he
expect
gave him afterwards, and then him and Rock shaking hands at the end. Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah, it was.
even JR was shocked.
Yeah, like really brought you back to those like golden Hogan days that you like enjoyed when you were a kid. Yeah, it was just a great thing to be a part of.
That what made the match special was the nostalgic feel of it. And guess where they were at, of all places? They were in the Skydome in Toronto, the same place where Hogan faced the Ultimate Warrior at. And I'm telling you right now, as a 10-year-old at that time, I did not expect the crowd to cheer for Hogan over The Rock. I didn't know. You know what I mean? But that was a shocker to me.
And it's so funny in both that match and the match with Warrior, even though he lost, he still came out of it an even bigger star.
After, yeah.
Yeah, that Hogan one was an incredible one, but I'll say my favorite WrestleMania babyface turn is Austin in WrestleMania 13.
Okay.
Yeah, the double turn, bro. The fact that Austin put on the performance that he did, and he was in the sharpshooter, and he was bleeding, blood dripping all over his face, and he still didn't give up, and then he just passed out, and then he still walked out on his own without any help, without anybody like carrying him out or anything, and that reaction and ovation he got afterwards, you were like, damn, we're really on to something. Like this shit is gonna be different from now on.
I know.
And the product got better with switching him and Brett, with Austin being the good guy and now Brett being the bad guy. Yeah, the product improved tremendously from them doing that double turn.
Very.
And that was the beginning of Austin becoming the face of the company and also the face of like WWE's boom period during that time.
It did.
Yeah, Austin basically became the new Hogan. Like Austin became like the biggest star since Hogan, and arguably even bigger star than Hogan.
Yep.
Yeah, and crazy that shit went down that way. But yeah, one of the best double turns ever. Also, the best babyface turn in WrestleMania ever, in my opinion. So moving on to our next subject, what was your favorite WrestleMania entrance?
Ooh, shit. Just entrance and period or musical?
Entrance.
Like live performance.
No, just entrance.
Okay. Is live performances different category, right?
Yeah, that'll be a different category. But if it was a live performance for an entrance, that's fine too.
Just for an entrance on its own. Shit. There's a lot, man. I have like 3. 2 of them are Shawn Michaels, and one is John Cena. The John Cena from entrance from 22, where
Ugh.
I don't me. I love that one.
There's another John Cena one I'll say I like, but I'll be honest, I did not like that entrance or Triple H's entrance that night. I'll be honest with you.
Why? Why?
It just felt like it was too much and like not necessary. Like I'm all for like extravagant entrances for WrestleMania, but those two felt forced.
That was the first time that they did something like that, though. It kind of like paved the way, the way they did things now, because before that they weren't really doing that.
I get it.
You had to start somewhere. I love both of those entrants. That's like the first time Triple H is doing the whole King of Kings things, and he does. I thought, oh snap! I was because I never like they didn't do stuff like that, Kurt. Not even like like years before that, they didn't do stuff like that for both people. But anyway, back to John Cena's entrance, they're in Chicago. They did the whole like original like OG gangster entrance, and I love that. I love gangster crime movies and all that stuff. I love that. I love how he came out with the Tommy gun, and normally when John Cena walks to the ring, he's throwing his hands up and getting the crowd excited. But though this one was different because he was walking. He was walking, and that showed you like how serious this match was to him. And this was like during his early title reign, Kurt. And like of all the title defenses that he had, I think at that point that was his biggest one. You know what I mean? And that long walk, it was a very serious walk. And I was like, oh my God, like this is serious. He never did that. And I was like, whoa. Like I just Tommy Gunn, I loved it. I said to myself, man, if I was a wrestler and if WrestleMania was in Chicago, I was like, fuck, I would love to do an entrance like that. And funny, CM Punk was in that part of that entrance.
Yeah, I remember. To be honest, my favorite John Cena entrance at WrestleMania was his entrance at WrestleMania 24.
I know. Oh yeah, I love that one too. That was dope. I love that one. That was a dope one. But as far as I think outside of John Cena, when it came to Shawn Michaels, like the two best ones that he ever did was the one at 12 and the one at 25. The one at 12, you see Jose Lothario coming to the ring, and you're like, wait a minute, where's Shawn Michaels at? I was like, what's going on? And then out of the blue, he gets into the ring and he points up to the sky, and then Shawn's up and like, whoa, what is he doing up there? And he comes down, gliding down the rafters, and I was like, whoa, that's dope. I was like, that's that I think that was like the first time that we actually saw a wrestler had a very creative entrance in a sense like that. You know what I mean? That kind of like set the tone for other wrestlers to follow. And then the entrance he had at 25, again, the whole theme of that match was the light versus the darkness. You know what I mean? He's coming down from the heavens, and it's all white and it's pure. And then he comes down to the entrance, and then his music hits, and I was like, oh, okay, I was like, all right. I was like, perfect. I was like, man, those are like top 3 for me.
Okay, I feel that. My top 3, I'll have to go with Bianca Belair from WrestleMania 38 with the
dope.
Texas Southern University marching band playing her entrance music. Yeah, that shit was
dope.
fucking insane. Also, another one I liked. I'm sure you'll probably get a kick out of this one. Dominic Mysterio's entrance from last year.
Oh, Lord, that was a creative one. I'm not gonna lie, that was. They
Yeah,
hold
shit was
the
great.
video. They're picking him up from prison, and then they driving him here. That was creative. I like that one. It was.
Fuck. And as far as another one, I'll have to say I really like The Undertaker's entrance at WrestleMania 14.
Oh yeah, yeah.
With the druids coming out and then him walking in between all of them with the fire sticks. And also with the story with that match with Kane going into it, you knew that shit was something special. Like from that entrance, like you knew this shit was a big deal. And like that match was like one of those first like real instances of WrestleMania where like I like really noticed like the non-main event was as big as the actual main event.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and that Shawn entrance at 12 was incredible. Also, another one from the early WrestleManias that I think is underrated was Macho King and Sensational Sherry from WrestleMania 7.
Oh, were they were on the chair?
Yeah, on the throne. Yeah, that. Yeah, also Hogan at WrestleMania 3 because pretty much everybody else at that WrestleMania came out like on those cards, and he was like one of the few, like probably other than Roddy Piper, who actually walked out to the ring.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Also, Austin in WrestleMania 13 when the glass shattered for the Austin 316 symbol before he came out. Yo, that shit was crazy.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah, it's too many of them. And one last honorable one I'll mention is Triple H at WrestleMania 30.
That was a good one. Charlotte Flair was a part of it too. I like that one. Yeah,
Yeah, Charlotte, Sasha, and also Alexa Bliss. Yeah, they were part of it.
I like that one.
What was your favorite build to a match for WrestleMania? Favorite build?
Damn, there's so much, so much. Oh my god.
I think I know which one you're gonna pick.
What?
Triple H and Batista from WrestleMania 21.
It was one of them. I was gonna say that one. That's just one of them. If I had to pick another one, it would be. I had to say, if it was another one, Undertaker and Kane.
From 14?
Yeah,
Yeah, that build it like lasted for almost a year from like that time that Paul Bear announced that like Kane was alive, and then that debut with Bad Blood,
yeah.
and then him like just going through the whole roster until the Undertaker will accept his challenge, and then Undertaker just keeps refusing until Kane like locks him in a casket and sets him on fire. Yeah, that shit was fucking nuts, man. But I'll say one of my favorite builds to a match for WrestleMania, I'll have to go with Hogan and Savage for WrestleMania 5.
Oh yeah, that's probably by far like your favorite storyline of all time.
One of, yeah, that. Also, Hogan and Andre had a great story going into WrestleMania 3. Yeah, that one goes without saying. Ray and Dominic from last year, I thought was a very good story. They really did a good job with that one.
Hmm.
And also an underrated one, Savage and Steamboat from WrestleMania 3 too.
Hidden Gem, another just tremendous undercard match.
And a match that was a star-making performance for both of them, just like the ladder match for Shawn and Razor, the triangle ladder match
Yep.
for Edge and Christian, Dudleys and Hardys. Also, the triple threat for Sasha, Charlotte, and Becky from 32. And what's your favorite celebrity for WrestleMania? Favorite celebrity?
Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson, yeah, I pick him too. Mike Tyson definitely made a huge difference for them business wise, and he put Austin on the map. He made Austin big, bigger than he probably would have ever
Hmm.
been otherwise.
Yeah.
I think the three most important people to Austin becoming the star that he became, like to build him into what he became in '98, were Brett, Mike Tyson, and Vince.
I agree.
Yeah, so I'll put Tyson in that category. Mr. T, you can't forget about because he was that one who put Hogan on the map, and he was in the
Hmm.
main event match with Hogan in the tag match with Piper and Orndorff. Also, Mayweather at 24, I thought was entertaining. I thought he did his thing in that one.
It was just funny how they like 10 years apart they had a boxer, in a WrestleMania event setting. You had Mike Tyson, and 10 years later you have a Mayweather. I hope future wise, I hope that Conor McGregor would play a part too.
That would be cool. Yeah, that would be dope.
Yeah.
Also, Trump at WrestleMania 23 with the hair versus hair shit. That shit was also compelling or compelling enough.
Look, I get it. We're not a big fan of Trump though, but just him being a part of that was cool. And he has before, you know what I mean? He's responsible for bringing WrestleMania 4 and 5 to Trump Plaza, you know what I mean? So, um, and then him, being part of WrestleMania 23, that was entertaining. I actually love that storyline, that build up.
Yeah, that was fun. Also, who could ever forget Pete Rose's appearances at WrestleMania?
Oh, God, 3 straight years.
Got laid out every single last time.
Trying, yeah,
But
yeah,
that 14 one was crazy. That was like the first time you ever really saw like one of the wrestlers attack the celebrity like that.
yeah.
I know he was talking shit to the Boston crowd before that, but damn, son.
He was.
Yeah, he did his thing in those skits. It's yeah, maybe Pete Rose should have been Kane's campaign manager when he ran for mayor.
Oh my God.
And also Bad Bunny and Logan Paul have done well in their WrestleMania appearances too. You got to throw them in there.
Very well. Oh, hell yeah. Very well. Very well.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some of our categories for worst WrestleMania moments. What was the worst ending to a WrestleMania you ever saw? Worst ending to a show?
I want to say last year's though, but no, I'm sticking to 93. I'm sticking to 9. I was whatever about Brett losing to Yokozuna though, but to have Yoko win and then lose to Hogan, just like that, I was just like, what the hell?
Yeah, I get it, but I'll probably pick last year's too. I'll say last year's was like the biggest punch to the gut. Yeah, it just didn't sit
Yeah.
well with me at all. Also, 27 sucked. 27 sucked. Also, 25 sucked. 2000 goes without saying. Although we got the rock bottoming Stephanie at the end, that was cool. It still didn't make up for the way that match ended.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I know. I understand. Okay, about 25. What you thought Orton should have won, or
Yeah, I thought Orton should have won. Yeah. I'll even put that in my category of WrestleMania matches that should have ended differently. Yeah, Orton should have won that match.
hmm.
And 34 sucked too. 34 with that Brock and Roman shit. Yeah, that also sucked.
34 had the potential to be a good one. If they had went to a 2 night format, it would have been better. And I told you this before. It started off good. It was going well, and then towards the middle, it slowly started like, okay, it's like starting to like wear off now because it was so long.
Yeah, it fell off harder than Jeff Hardy did after Edge speared him from those belts when he was hanging from them off the ladder.
Yeah, it
That's how
just
hard it fell off.
like man, I was like, man, this is better than last year. Okay, cool. Middle, I was like, oh no, it's
Yeah, after that mixed tag with Ronda and Angle against Triple H and Stephanie, that show sucks. That show is nowhere near as good after that.
oh, it slowly died. Oh,
Yeah, and just having Brock win after they made us wait a whole year and had like Brock beat everybody just for him to come to WrestleMania when you pretty much figured he was going to lose to Roman. And you're just like, yo, let's just have Roman beat him and get it over with. And then to do all that and just have Brock win anyway, you're like, yo, get the fuck out of my face.
it was a waste of time.
But I will say last year's was still definitely one of those ones that did not sit well with you. Did not sit well with you even a little bit.
Yeah,
But it is what it is. But
yeah.
what's your least favorite WrestleMania main event?
Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns from 38
Oh shit, really? Oh man.
because that was just like, bro, like I've seen this so many times, and they're building it up as it's the most stupendous main event of all time. I'm like, bro, stop.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I think one of them got hurt during the match, and that's kind of why it turned out the way it did. But still, bro, yeah, that was
It didn't matter. Still, it was just like, bro, like how many times have you seen Lesnar versus Roman? Come on, bro. The first time felt perfect though, but like, dude, like seriously?
and also for how good that show was from Saturday and also parts of Sunday too, for it to just end that way with that match that we've seen 1,000 times, and it wasn't even as good that time either. You're like, yeah, this is a sour way to end the show. I get it. Yeah, that's a fair pick. I think their 34 one was worse, but I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
But mine, I will pick for the worst WrestleMania main event was Miz and John Cena from WrestleMania 27. Holy shit. Holy shit. And I mean shit when I say that.
Dude. And I felt bad for Miz. If only if Miz had that, that current gimmick that he has now, if only if he had that gimmick back then, it would have been better. I just didn't take Miz seriously as a champion. I mean, I wasn't watching wrestling anymore at the time, though. But when I found out that Miz was champion, I was like, "What the hell?" I was like, "What the hell?" Like, Miz is champion. I was like, "What the fuck?" And
And he's main eventing WrestleMania. You're like, what the hell's going
yeah,
on?
it's like, dude, what the hell is going on with this world, man? But yeah, it was even if The Rock was the special host, I was like, I didn't care.
Yeah, that sucked. Also, Hogan and Sid was pretty bad too. Hogan and Sid was also garbage. Fuck me.
Yeah, and insult to injury how the match ended too, though.
Yeah.
Um,
Sid and Undertaker also wasn't good.
yeah, that was yeah.
Yeah, Sid and Taker wasn't also very good, and I was there for it, and I also vouched for how bad it was. The second Rock and Cena, I was not a fan of.
I thought Triple H and Orton from 25 was not a good match. Period. I love the build up. I love the build up. I hated the stipulation where if Triple H gets himself disqualified and he loses, I was like, wait a minute, you guys been beating the hell out of each other for weeks and all this stuff, and then he can't do this. And I'm like, no, didn't like it.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. And also Triple H and Roman at WrestleMania 32. That was also not the best. And also Roman and Undertaker, I hate to say it, at 33. That one also, yeah, didn't really deliver like
Yeah.
the way we maybe thought it would. Yeah, some of those worst WrestleMania main events, I hate to say it, a lot of them do
Hmm.
involve Roman. Yeah, but it is what it is. All right, so let's get into a few more categories. What's your favorite ending to a WrestleMania? Favorite ending to a show?
Easy. Eddie Guerrero and Benoit hugging each other at the end of the match.
At the end of WrestleMania 20, yeah, that's definitely a very feel good moment. Gets me choked up, like I said before, every time I see it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just great to see those two dudes who had, like worked their way up for years and were told like they would never make it past a certain point, make it past that certain point, and be closing WrestleMania both as champions in Madison Square Garden with the confetti flying, yeah, the crowd cheering and then just hugging and crying. Yeah, it's like one of those reasons why I love wrestling, bro. Like people can talk shit about wrestling all day long, but it's shit like that that makes me love wrestling and the reason why I will always love wrestling.
Hmm.
Also, the end to WrestleMania 6 was also a great ending with Hogan and Warrior, where Warrior beats Hogan, and it's like the first time Hogan lost. And then Hogan actually hands him the belt and raises his hand. And then you see that shot of Hogan, like, leaving on the card. And you see that look on his face as he watches, like, Warrior celebrate. And you could, like, definitely tell, like, it's a sense that he's, like, being replaced. Especially as a Hogan fan at the time, that one hit me hard. That ending definitely hit me hard.
Yeah.
And obviously WrestleMania 10 when Brett wins the title at the end, that's great to like really see him get that, apology for what happened at WrestleMania 9 the year before. And like, yeah, for him to like really be anointed as that guy and when everybody comes out to celebrate with him and then Owen comes out to try to confront him too. Yeah, just a perfect way to end that show. Yeah, it's just incredible shit. And honorable mentions also 31 when Rollins cashes in. Obviously 30 when Daniel Bryan wins the title. That one was also fucking monumental. And goes without saying, WrestleMania 14 when Austin wins the title and Mike Tyson helps him win, and then Mike Tyson knocks out Shawn afterwards. Yeah, that shit was wild.
Yeah, it was.
What's your favorite WrestleMania main event? Your favorite main event?
Ooh. Okay, there's two that comes to my mind. So Brock versus Roman from 31.
You say Rock versus Roman?
Brock versus Roman from 31.
My bad.
Yeah. And I think the fact that the crowd going back and forth really played a part of it, and it reminded me of 22. I was not expecting the crowd to be just fired up for that.
Yeah, bro, I was there. I was there. It was fucking insane. It was pandemonium up in there.
Well, that too, but I'm also talking about 22 as well. I was not. I was like, what the? I was like, that whole match, that crowd was just. One of the things that I love about that match was the crowd. Jesus, I was not. I knew they were going to cheer for Triple H, but damn, it was back and forth 50. I was like, oh my god, like it was kind of, it was reminding me of Hogan versus Rock. I just went into that match. I was like, oh, okay, just a normal match, title match, whatever, right? But damn, that crowd, oh my god. To this day, that's one of the reasons why that's my all-time favorite WrestleMania. But back to Brock versus Roman, again, it just the match, how it played out, and plus the ending, the Seth Rollins cashing in. Crazy.
Yeah, that was a crazy way to end the show and a crazy way to leave that stadium where you're like, damn, that was one of the best WrestleManias I've probably ever seen and one of the best and most
Hmm.
shocking and one of the best and most shocking
Yeah.
endings to a WrestleMania I've ever seen. Yeah, that show
Yeah.
definitely delivered. That show was a lot better than people were expecting it to be, and still to this day goes down as one of the
Hmm.
best I've ever seen. Period. In all almost 40 of them.
Hmm.
But I'll say my favorite
Yeah.
main event of a WrestleMania will probably be, despite the fact of not liking the way it ended, Rock and Austin from WrestleMania 17.
I agree too. I'll put that on my list too. Oh my god, that match was just from start to finish, just like woo, intense. But that ending was, it was a punch in the gut for me.
Yeah, it was, but despite that ending, it doesn't take away from all the great shit we saw before it. I compare that WrestleMania main event to the movie Dark Knight, where it's the perfect movie except for the ending, And this match was the perfect main event and perfect match. It's also except
You didn't like the ending?
for Dark Knight, I was kind of disappointed. No, I felt like the Joker should have died in dramatic
Wow.
fashion, and
No, hell
was
no, hell no. No, no, no. No, I'm glad I didn't kill them all. Thank God. No. I got scared. I was like, no, they're gonna kill him. They say, no, he didn't kill him. Thank God. I was like, fuck.
I felt like
Seriously.
I felt like he did too much evil shit.
Oh my God.
I felt like he did too much evil shit for him to continue to go on by that point. Yeah, I felt like he did too much evil shit for him to live.
Batman is not that person to kill people. I think anybody should know that.
But the bad guys have died in the Batman movies before.
Batman doesn't kill people. You didn't hear me.
I mean, he kind of killed the Joker in the other Batman, the Jack Nicholson one.
Okay, in a sense, yeah, though, but
I'm not saying he should have been the one to kill him per se, but I'm saying that he should have probably died in the movie and kept Two-Face
how?
alive for the sequel. Because Two-Face only became Two-Face like in the last half hour of the movie. Yeah, they could have done a lot more with him if they kept him alive for the
I
next
wish they would have
movie,
kept him
but
alive too.
whatever they
Though.
did, what they did. It's still a great movie, but I'm just saying like those last 15 or so minutes, it's not as good in those last few minutes.
No, I loved it. It was just that I look back at that movie. We'll different story though because it's running short on time though. We'll save it for
Yeah.
later. Though,
All right. So yeah, I'll say Rock and Austin's my favorite WrestleMania main event. Close second, I'll go with Hogan and Warrior at WrestleMania 6.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Definitely. And also obviously the
Yeah,
triple threat from WrestleMania 20, Triple H, Benoit, and Shawn. Yeah, you can never forget that one.
Oh shit! How can I say that? Oh my god! How can I not say that? I should have said. Damn it! All right, top three is that one, Brock versus Roman, and Triple H versus Cena, and that's my top three.
Okay. Okay.
I cannot believe I did not say triple threat.
All right.
Shit.
All right. Last category. What's your favorite overall WrestleMania show?
22.
Damn. Damn.
Yeah, damn is right. I've been saying that for years till the day I die. 22 is my all-time favorite WrestleMania. Watching that show with my brothers and watching that, with my best friend over at his house, we were just having a blast that whole day. That whole night. That really set the map where Chicago is the best wrestling town. That as small as an arena is, All-Star Arena, Chicago, that crowd was just fired up throughout that whole night, and I've never seen anything like that, especially for a women's title match. I was like, whoa! Like I never see stuff like that. I don't see like a crowd get all stoked up for a women's title match, and they were booing Trish Stratus. We were just having a great time that night, and then of course, going to the Shawn in the matches, dude, just like the hardcore match and the Money in the Bank match was good. Even the tag team title match was decent to start off the night. Michaels versus McMahon, my God, whoa.
Oh shit. Yo, that match was crazy. Yo, that match is
so,
yeah, say what you want about Vince as a person, but as a performer, he killed it. As a performer, he was always on it.
And can I say this too? To me, that's JR's best call for a match. That's my favorite call. That match that he called, that's his best.
He was great.
That was my favorite.
He was great in it though. He was great.
Dude.
He was great. Especially that part when Shawn hits Vince over the head with the poster of the Muscle and Fitness, and he said, "Yeah, shove it up his ass, shove it up his ass." I'm like, bro, JR does not give any fucks right now.
I'm telling you right now, man, and I loved everything about that event. I loved the theme song, and I loved Ray winning the title for doing it for Eddie, and then last but not least, the main event. I've never ever in my life, it was all the years I've watched wrestling at that point, I've never seen, and they could have did this for Rock and Austin. I don't know why they didn't do that, but I've never seen where they had prior to the match where you see both superstars getting dressed in their locker rooms.
And 17, they kind of did that.
Yeah, showing them walking into the locker room and similar. But like it was like, man, I've never seen anything like that before. And then the entrance, I was like, this is bigger than I expected. And then for the first time, you had the ring announcer announce them in the ring, not as they're walking towards the ring. That's never been done before. And it felt like I was watching a boxing fight. That's where I was like, this is like, whoa. Was just unbelievable. They never did stuff like this before. And it set the stage for what they're doing now. Now you're seeing the wrestlers, they're both in the ring and they're announcing both of them at the same time. It all started from that night. That is my favorite, all-time favorite WrestleMania. Like I love that. I loved it. And watching it with my brother, my friend was priceless. I loved it. I'll never forget that night.
Yeah, and it's so funny. I thought on that night that it was going to be the last time I would ever watch wrestling because I vowed that I was going to stop watching wrestling after that WrestleMania. But I just remember when that show was over saying that if this is my last night ever watching wrestling, what a fucking way to go out. I fucking love that show from start to finish. And like I said, it was like kind of like that feeling where if I never watch wrestling again, and this is my last ever memory of ever watching wrestling, that's a perfect way for me to end it. That's the perfect way for me to,
And people,
stop my wrestling fandom. But I mean, obviously it
you
didn't last, but fuck, what a great show.
you read the reviews from that show, it's all positive. People say that's the most underrated
Yeah.
WrestleMania, one of the best all time. It's just like
It's in
I
my
love
top. I won't say it's my number one like you, but it's in my top five. It's in my top five, definitely. I'll say
okay.
my top five are 22,
Hmm.
31,
Hmm.
10,
Hmm.
WrestleMania 3,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
and my number one, WrestleMania 17.
Okay.
And pretty much in that order. WrestleMania 3 I love because of like the whole stadium setting of it. And the Steamboat Savage match is fucking incredible. And also one of those first like really good classic WrestleMania matches where like the match that's not the main event steals the show. And also the other stuff on the show was entertaining too, like the Junkyard Dog and Harley Race stuff, and like King Kong Bundy and the midgets. That part was also entertaining. The Piper and Adrian Adonis match was also fun, with it like being Piper's retirement match, and they shave Adrian Adonis's head at the end, and then Piper like has that retirement, although it doesn't last. Like it's still a memorable moment regardless. And then, yeah, the Savage and Steamboat match is fucking insane. And then you have Alice Cooper there with Jake the Snake, which is like a match made in heaven when you look back at it now. And then the fact that they did that attendance that they did with the 93,000. And then obviously Hogan and Andre with that stare down and the fucking body slam. That body slam is obviously like probably the WrestleMania moment, like the original WrestleMania moment. And yeah, like that
Yes.
body slam and then Hogan beating Andre. Yeah, just an incredible show. That's definitely the best WrestleMania of the 80s.
Oh, easily, easily. Ooh.
Yeah, but WrestleMania 17, especially considering the fact that I got to watch it live, yeah, there was just nothing like it. Just from the stadium setting, the fact that it was like the first time that they were in a stadium in like 9 years, and the Rock and Austin
Mhm.
main event, and them being as big as they were, and that being the main event for the title. But not even just that. You still had the TLC 2 with the Dudleys, Hardys, Edge, and Christian. I'm not saying it's my favorite out of the series, but it was still a great match regardless, with fucking crazy spots and crazy highlights. Fucking madness all over the place. And then Shane and Vince match was also fun, especially, I kid you not, one of the biggest pops in WrestleMania history when Linda McMahon gets out of the chair after she had been in that coma all those months and all that. Shit was crazy.
Yeah.
And then the Undertaker and Triple H
Yeah.
match was also fun. Even though Undertaker kind of like choke slammed him on that crash pad, you could clearly see it was. And then the referee was like down for 10 minutes.
Mhm.
But that one spot when Triple H hit
Yeah.
him with the sledgehammer when he was about to do the last ride, almost thought he was going to lose at that point.
Oof.
And then like Undertaker won with the last ride. That match was fun. That match was fun, especially their entrances. Also, Angle and Benoit was a fun match. Even that hardcore match with Kane, Raven, and Big Show was fun.
Yeah, that was a fun one too.
And then obviously the main event with Rock and Austin, that match was just epic. Even though you don't like the finish and the way it ends, everything that happens before that is like what the main event of WrestleMania is all about.
True.
Yeah, so I always say that's my favorite WrestleMania, even though it was bittersweet because it was the end of the Attitude Era and WCW just ended and everything kind of like changed and not for the better after that. That WrestleMania on that night was still one of the best shows and one of the best nights of my life being a wrestling fan. I will say that too.
Gotcha.
All right, bro. I think we said what we needed to say tonight. We went a long fucking time. I'm about to lose my damn voice. So I think it's time for us to call it a night. I'm going to go watch the Brutus Beefcake Dark Side of the Ring.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, so
Yeah.
guys, until next time, we'll have our prediction show for WrestleMania next week and maybe talk about some more WrestleMania moments. Yeah, for talking about this for an hour and a half, we still probably didn't talk about as much as we could have.
No, it's all good though, but it was great. Just looking back and talking about these moments, man, and WrestleMania is so special, man. I felt so good talking about 22, dude. Like it brought me back.
Yeah, it's a fun show, and yeah, one I always like to go back and watch. And I think I might watch the Iron Man match maybe tonight between Brett and Shawn. I've been kind of on like the mid '90s WrestleMania kick right now, and that match also gets kind of overlooked. I know it's not like everybody's favorite, but it was still a good match for what it was. Though it was like maybe they shouldn't have had an Iron Man stipulation put on it ahead of time, and maybe they should have had them like do an hour without that. But regardless, I still enjoyed that match.
Oh no, I was fine with it, man. It was a first for everything.
Yeah, and also still to this day, the only WrestleMania that took place on my birthday while I was alive.
Which one?
12. Yeah, Brett and Shawn.
Oh, 12. Oh, 12. I hope they go back to March, man. They've been having it too much in April. We haven't had one in March since 2015.
Yeah, it's so funny. I tried so hard because it was my birthday. I tried so hard to push my birthday party to that Saturday before as opposed to that Sunday so I could watch WrestleMania, but
Yeah.
like we couldn't do it because we booked it at some place. So I had it early in the afternoon, and it just went to the point where like I had to cut the party short because WrestleMania was about to start. Where I was like, "Yo, party's over. It's time to go home. I gotta go watch WrestleMania. Yo, party's over. Yo, party is over." Yeah, I was like, "Yo, we gotta get the fuck out of here now." I got there just in time. I got there literally 10 minutes before it started. Shit was crazy. I'm like, yo, hurry the fuck up. Pack the gifts, pack all the leftover food, whatever, and get the fuck out of here.
You're probably like, Martin, get out and step.
You're damn right. It was at Discovery Zone too.
Oh, wow.
And I'm serious when I want to leave Discovery Zone early because I fucking love that place. But yo, it's WrestleMania. Sorry, one's got to go. All right, but in any event, until next time, for John Randall, this is Conscious Kurt with another edition of the Clash of the Champions. Take care. Happy birthday week to me, which my birthday will be on Sunday. God bless, and remember, don't be an asshole in real life or social media because that shit
is for the birds.
is for the birds. Have a good one, guys. Good night.